Have you ever looked at a world map and wondered how we first discovered all these continents and oceans? What drove humans to sail into the vast, unknown blue? Let's journey back in time to a period of incredible courage, ambition, and discovery that reshaped our world forever. This is the story of the Age of Exploration. Between the early 15th and early 17th centuries, something extraordinary happened. European ships, once confined to coastal waters, began to venture out across the globe. Our maps of the world, once filled with blank spaces and sea monsters, started to take the shape we recognize today. It was a time when the horizon wasn't a limit, but an invitation. But what lit this fire? What pushed these mariners to face treacherous storms, starvation, and the terrifying fear of sailing off the edge of the world? The answer, as it often is, was a mix of gold, glory, and God. For centuries, Europe had a ravenous appetite for the exotic spices, silks, and riches of Asia. But the overland trade routes, like the famous Silk Road, were long, dangerous, and controlled by rival empires, making goods incredibly expensive. European monarchs and merchants dreamed of a shortcut, a direct sea route to the east that would cut out the middlemen and bring unimaginable wealth. This wasn't just about getting rich, it was about national power and prestige. But a dream is nothing without the tools to make it real. And in the 15th century, technology took a giant leap forward. Shipbuilders developed the caravel, a small, fast, and highly maneuverable ship with triangular sails that could sail against the wind. It was the perfect vessel for exploration. Navigators were no longer just guessing. They had new instruments like the astrolabe and quadrant to determine their latitude by the stars, and the magnetic compass, an ancient Chinese invention, to reliably point them north. Armed with these innovations, the once impenetrable oceans began to seem navigable. And so, our story turns to the legendary explorers themselves, individuals whose names are now etched into history. First, we have Christopher Columbus, an Italian navigator with a bold and ultimately wrong idea. He believed he could reach Asia by sailing west across the Atlantic. In 1492, backed by the Spanish crown, he set sail with 3 small ships. After a grueling 10 weeks at sea, he made landfall not in Asia, but on an island in the Bahamas. He had unknowingly stumbled upon a new world, the Americas, an event that would change the course of history for both Europe and the continents he had found. While Spain looked west, Portugal looked south. The Portuguese were determined to find a way around Africa to reach the lucrative spice markets of India. After decades of inching their way down the African coast, it was Vasco da Gama who finally succeeded. In 1497, he led a fleet that rounded the Cape of Good Hope, crossed the Indian Ocean, and arrived in Calicut, India. He had opened a direct sea route to the east. The Portuguese had won the race, and for a century, they would dominate the spice trade, building a vast trading empire across Asia. But the ultimate test of human endurance and navigational skill was yet to come. Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer sailing for Spain, set out in 1519 with an audacious goal: to circumnavigate the globe. His expedition was an epic saga of mutiny, starvation, and brutal hardship. They navigated the treacherous strait at the tip of South America, which now bears his name, and crossed the vast, unexpectedly calm ocean he named the Pacific. Magellan himself was killed in the Philippines, but one of his ships, the Victoria, managed to complete the journey, returning to Spain in 1522. They were the first humans to circle the Earth, proving definitively that our world was a sphere and that all its oceans were connected. The impact of these voyages was monumental and immediate. The discovery of the Americas led to the establishment of vast Spanish and Portuguese colonial empires. Enormous quantities of gold and silver were plundered and shipped back to Europe, fueling its economies and funding its wars. This was the beginning of the Columbian Exchange, a massive transfer of plants, animals, diseases, technologies, and ideas between the Old and New Worlds. Europe got potatoes, tomatoes, and corn, which revolutionized its agriculture. The Americas got horses, cattle, and sugarcane. But this new global connection came at a terrible price. European diseases, like smallpox and measles, to which the indigenous peoples of the Americas had no immunity, caused catastrophic population collapses, wiping out an estimated 90% of the population in some areas. The quest for wealth led to the brutal conquest and enslavement of native populations, and later, the transatlantic slave trade, which forcibly brought millions of Africans to the Americas to work on plantations. So, when we look back at the Age of Exploration, we see a complex and dual legacy. It was an age of incredible human achievement, of courage that expanded our understanding of the planet. It laid the foundation for the interconnected, globalized world we live in today. But it was also an era of conquest, exploitation, and immense suffering. It reminds us that history is rarely a simple story of heroes and villains. It's a story of complex human motivations, of discovery and destruction, and of consequences that continue to shape our world hundreds of years later. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through time. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the events that made us who we are today. See you next time.